YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back in Total War Arena, and I'm actually commentating this after the fact, so this game has already occurred. So yeah, we'll just kind of watch it, and I can that way give you my thoughts while I'm not trying to play live. Someone there, if you didn't see in the chat, was asking, saying, "Hey Patchy, are you the real Air?" And I said, "Hey, yes, I think I'm me." So I've met a few viewers so far in the Total War Arena Alpha, which has been a lot of fun. This will give me a chance to kind of give you a few thoughts so far. Now, I'm not going to make any definitive judgment on this game while it's still in the alpha phase. My feelings have not changed towards free-to-play, and that's in spite of the fact that this game is so far a little better than what I expected. I'm not here to tell you that it's amazing or anything else like that, because I just don't know that yet. We're playing an alpha, which is 3 maps with a limited number of commanders and a limited player pool and all that other kind of stuff. So, I mean, again, there's promising things so far, especially considering what I expected for the game to turn out as. Now, I mean, so let's just talk through a few of the pros and cons here, at least in my opinion, what I feel like are the pros and cons. There is definitely a change of the level in graphics here when you're talking about from Attila to Total War Arena, or Rome 2 to Total War Arena. The graphics are not quite there. But it is a free-to-play game, and I think that the idea is they're looking for a bigger audience. So I'm assuming the reason the graphics aren't in the same level is for a couple of reasons. One, you're going to have 10 on 10, and having the lower graphics will probably assist with that not becoming too absolutely crazy. I'm actually going to... Yeah, so it'll probably keep that from becoming too, like I said, too crazy. The other reason is, I think that's probably a big piece of it. Plus, then more people can put it on their computer without having to worry about having like a beastly gaming computer. So I'm pretty sure that that's where the reasoning comes from. I mean, free-to-play games are never like some kind of graphical masterpiece. But it looks pretty good, I think, considering that it's a free-to-play game. I've seen lots of free-to-play games, and I've seen some that I really don't like. So far, this one, like I said, is better than my expectations, but keep in mind that my expectation for a free-to-play game is absolutely 0. So it's not hard to exceed my expectations on a free-to-play game right now. But like I said, here's where I'll give it the pros and cons. So the game is fun if you grab a friend, even just one friend, hop on voice chat and jump in. It's very casual. Some people say that they think this is going to be for competitive reasons, but I almost feel like it's the opposite. I kind of feel like this game is great for casual. Just hop in with some friends, have some fun. I don't really feel all that bad when I lose the game, because it's like a big team battle, and it doesn't really feel like the blame is directly assigned to you or anybody else for that matter. It's just, to me, it makes it fun in that regard. Like, so for instance, when I'm playing a Halo game, for some reason I'm more focused on whether or not I'm winning than I am whenever I'm playing Total War Arena. And in this case, let me just tell you real quick too. So I've got 2 hoplites and a levy slinger. Probably better would have been 2 levy slingers and a hoplite, but I decided to bring a little infantry rather than just missile spamming every time. Missile spam is extremely effective at level 3 and below. I think it's level 4 where people start to open up cavalry. And that doesn't mean that you can't run into cavalry when you pick a few lower level troops. You can, if the match doesn't pick people that are all within the same tier. And it is just an alpha, and I am probably one of the few Americans playing it, because they haven't technically released it to America yet. So I'm thinking that a lot of these people are probably from Europe. There's probably not a huge player population on a night when I do most of my playing, which means that it's not always going to be great at finding people within my own tier. So look over here, these guys, apparently they made a huge push through the city, and I see it and start pulling back to help at the base, because if they get into our base, it's not going to take them long to capture it. Now, fortunately, we have a few players back here, including a CPU, and what it shows with the CPU there is anybody can control the CPU player. That means someone dropped. So they're, one of the guys is saying they're rushing our base. Yes, they are. So in this game, you can win either by killing the enemy troops, or more often than not, by capturing the enemy base. It's very interesting. Sometimes you can be kicking the crap out of the enemy team, and all of a sudden you'll realize that there's a single unit across the map that you didn't leave anybody to protect, and you lose. So it's very interesting in that sense. It also leads to, in my mind, some fun strategies with a few pieces. Number one, ambushes in this game are so much more real than they are in the other Total War games, just because of the whole line of sight mechanic. You can really set up some fun ambushes, and I'll try and do that in some battles in the future. Though I haven't really launched too many wildly successful ones. I had one that was pretty successful, except that the guys that I were ambushing were armored legionaries, and I was only using hoplites, and so my guys got slaughtered despite the fact that I flanked them and charged downhill. So yes, there is a big difference between the strength of different tier units, and then also a big difference between the strength. I was doing spears into sword units, and not only that, but higher tier sword units. So despite the downhill charge and the flanking, my guys got absolutely wrecked. So there is a huge difference there, and that's why I think it's going to be important when the game releases that they make sure the matchmaking is doing its best possible to match people within the same tier. But the key to getting people in the same tier is you're going to need a huge player base. So if you take a look at a game like, say, in my mind, a good example would be Halo 3. It had a ranking system, and you could go into certain ranked playlists, and it would match you based on those ranking. And if there weren't enough people online close, it would kind of slowly start to filter out from your ranking up and down to try and get the most balanced games possible. It was not perfect, but when the game had a large player population, it worked pretty well. And that's going to be the same way with this game. So the Creative Assembly is going to have to make sure that this game gets a large player population. It's free to play, so that's going to be one way that you can help increase the player population. But in my mind, if they don't make sure that this game isn't pay to win, and that if people get annoyed with the DLC, or if they don't patch it in time and all that kind of stuff, it's going to kill the player population, and this game will die very quickly because it's multiplayer only, and it's going to need that player population to drive good matchmaking. Now, I'm not sitting here saying I want that to happen, or I'm predicting it's going to happen. I can just tell you this. Halo is a wildly popular game, and Microsoft released it with broken matchmaking on the Xbox One. The player population plummeted. It couldn't even pass Battlefield 4 on the number of players online. And I'm not saying that Battlefield 4 is a bad game, I'm just saying that it had its own problems at launch, and if Halo can't get a higher player population than Battlefield 4, especially the classic Halo that everybody loved, yeah, it's bad. And it's not because people hated Halo or because Battlefield's bad, it's just because Microsoft released a broken game. And again, the player population's never really recovered for it on the Master Chief Collection. And I know that that game is very different than Total War, but the point remains, if they release this botched, they're going to immediately lose player interest, and the game will probably never recover from it. So they cannot release the game botched. The good news is that the alpha is working fairly well. Yes, it's kind of limited, we don't know all the factions, there's units that aren't here yet, so there is room for it to screw up, but the good news is it's working fairly well so far. There are a few things that need balancing improvements, and there's a few things that are a little bit gamey, but it's not that bad. The majority of matches that I find myself in right now end up being pretty fun, and usually fairly competitive. I've only been in a few raffle stompings, so it's not that bad. So again, it's a concern. I'm not seeing that play out right now, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. But again, at the same time, I'm not saying it will happen. I hope it doesn't. I don't want to see the Creative Assembly fail with any launch because I love Total War, and I don't want this series to ever die. In fact, I'd like to see it be wildly popular. That gives me an excuse to keep being on YouTube longer, and it gives me way more fun things to show you. It's just good for all of us. And then I get something fun to play on top of it. So, you can see there's a huge blob of enemy troops there, and I am trying to avoid friendly fire, but I'm also trying to outflank, and I'm a little worried about our base again. When I looked at that map, you could see that along the south edge there wasn't any line of sight from our troops. So I am concerned that the enemy could be sneaking a few troops in there. We're winning the battle massively by numbers, but you know, I keep looking worriedly at the map because there's no one back at the base, and I'm considering whether or not I should run back to the base. And to be quite honest, I probably should, but I'm like, I want to get gutsy here, and I'm going to go ahead and push forward with my spearmen. And I start to move my slingers back. I do have line of sight on the enemy base. And it's probably just because, again, I'm worried about an enemy unit getting in there, and so I'm going to push forward with my spears and see if I can potentially cap the enemy base. I go ahead and, this is a very risky move. I drop the shields on both my hoplites, which means I have a permanent melee defense penalty now, but it's going to make my men faster because I think, hey, I'm home free, I can get to the enemy base. Unfortunately for me, I'm about to find out there's some units right there, and I'm like, criminy, and I already dropped my shields. So if it was skirmishers, I'd be double screwed here because I'd have no shields, but it's actually artillery, and I'm going to get the flank on them. And if I do a quick infantry charge on them, I'm going to get a ton of points here with my hoplites for killing their artillery. So I go ahead and do a flank charge, and I hit my heavy infantry charge. and I'm going to kill that artillery unit. And like I said, I'm getting a ton of points there for killing the artillery units. They're worth a lot of points because they're kind of high priority targets. Now the problem is there's a few archers, as you can see in the background, but this ended up being a very lucky find for me, and I was lucky to kill so many enemy artillery units. But I am going to suffer some pretty serious archer fire, and you can see here that that's already happening. Though I did get the jump on most of their melee units, and it's going to go fairly well for me. But like I said, I need to get those archer units chased off and keep trying to kill some of these enemy. Yeah, look, I caught that artillery unit again, so I'm going to get a few more points from killing those guys. Artillery kills are always great for your score, and you can see my general over there actually routes. By the way, the white bar on the top is actually their morale, and the blue bar on the bottom represents your unit's health, just for you who aren't familiar with the game yet. You can see there's lots of kind of special abilities and consumables and all that kind of stuff that come on the units down at the bottom. There's hotkeys there, obviously, where you can fire that stuff off quicker. I keep clicking them. I've just never been very good at using hotkeys. I think if you really want to get competitive at this game, you're going to have to get good at those hotkeys. General's abilities, the ones that you can see on these units, that one's a focus fire for my slingers. And then on my infantry, I've got like infantry charge, raised shields, which helps block missiles, drop shields, which makes you faster, and then formation attack I haven't really tested with. It says it just keeps your guys in formation, don't know what that means. And they have piercing blows there also. All of them are different abilities, and piercing blows I think gives me more armor piercing damage, but it makes my guys immobile for a short period of time, so you'd want to only use it after you've engaged in infantry combat. So we are pushing into the enemy base, and by the numbers we're still winning big, but again I'm always worried that there's something happening that I'm not going to catch, like an enemy in our base or something. And there's some enemy javelins moving up too, which have me pretty worried. The javelins could rip up my hoplites pretty fast, especially since I dropped my shields. Look at these skirmishers going to get caught against the wall. I get my infantry charge, and I pretty much end up wiping those guys out on the charge. So grabbing some more points there. They had nowhere left to run. But yeah, those javelins over there, definitely going to want to stay away from those guys, so you can see me kind of pulling my troop back. They are being chased by spearmen though, fortunately, so I go ahead and move back forward. You also get points for capping, so if you're one of those people that you're just going to spend your time trying to capture any base, you do get points for it, but you'll get way more points for killing enemy units. That's why a lot of people like the missile spam right now, because you get kills quick with missiles. They're not OP, but they're quite strong. There's certainly sword units and stuff that can take a lot of missile fire. However, the thing is that missile ammo is completely unlimited, so you're going to find that people tend to take the skirmishers, because as long as you can keep them from getting hit by cav or something, you can kite endlessly and cause people a lot of damage. So I'm not sure what I think about the endless ammo. It is kind of a short match, and I guess endless ammo is probably okay because it's over in 15 minutes regardless. There's no fatigue either, which again, it's over in 15 minutes, so I'm kind of okay with that too. So I mean, those are a little bit of differences. I'm just trying to think, kind of about the pros and cons. I mean, let's think. If you made it not endless ammo, I think the only way that you could maybe make it more interesting is to give them a certain amount of ammo, but maybe make like a little thing next to the base, like a resupply point, where you could go get it, or maybe you could capture an enemy resupply point. Maybe something like that would be interesting. May add another little facet to the game there. You might actually have to think about what you're shooting at with your missiles. Now, I'm not saying I'd want to take them down to like almost no ammo, but I mean, the endless ammo is, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it, to be honest. I think I'm fine with it for now, because there's cavalry, and the cavalry are a big threat to skirmishers. Definitely a big threat to skirmishers. I need to just be pulling those spearmen out of the range of those javelins and using my slingers to push them back. So, yeah, you can see the enemy's actually in our base capping it. And I'm just like, really, are we going to lose this game after beating these guys down pretty badly? And right now it looks like we will, but I can't tell. There may be someone back there giving the people in our base a hard time, but I can't tell. And I was telling everybody, if you look, I'm like, pile in, dang it, pile in. We need all of our units to pile in and start capping, but even just those few javelins up there are going to slow down our capture process. So I'm going to use my slingers to shoot them. And I was hoping maybe we could just pile enough guys in to start getting capture points fast enough to catch up. But even after beating down the enemy like that, we all got a little bit too zealous, and we went to the enemy base, and they apparently had a unit or two that stayed behind us, and we're going to lose the game because of it. So frustrating. I got a lot of points, got a lot of commander XP. I say a lot of points, a decent amount of points. It's not that much really, but anyway, all that, and then we still lost the game. So yeah, that's one of the things about Arena that I think that's why it's kind of like not such a big deal to lose. I still did fine in the battle. It didn't really feel like a nasty loss to me, and it's not like it really cost me anything in particular, other than maybe, oh no, when I look at my profile, my victory percentage isn't as high. No big deal. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the conversation. Continue to tell me your thoughts. I'll keep bringing you footage, like I said, so you can kind of see the game as I learn about it, and we'll just kind of keep the episodes going. There is a checkbox up there, and I learned about it through the comments, so don't worry. It won't be right away because I've actually recorded quite a few videos, but I eventually realized that and start using it thanks to your comments. HeirofCarthage, signing off for now. Hope you all enjoyed it.